Hello, and it's Gary Vasey again with ComTech Advisory. Well, we're rapidly approaching a big regulatory deadline coming up in February with trade reporting for EMEA. And today I'm joined by David Priestley, who's Managing Director here at Openlink, and we're going to talk about some of the regulatory offerings that Openlink have. Tell me a little bit about Openlink's offerings in the space and around the regulatory environment.
Sure. Well, the origins of this and the roots of the whole product really came from our background in credit risk management. Openlink acquired my company CubeLogic some 18 months ago, and we were very strong in the credit risk environment. And credit risk, as you probably know, has very similar sort of attributes to the regulatory space in that you need to capture data from multiple sources. You need a complete picture of all of your trading data. And that's really what the regulators are asking us for. They're asking us to send all of that data to them on a daily basis. So we were able to use some of the components we'd already built for credit risk and reuse those. In fact, 3 of the main components have been reused. And really all we were left with is building a component that let us talk to the trade repositories. Okay,
and so why use cubes?
Well, cubes have got some very attractive facilities for extracting data for a start. They have things called loaders, ETL, extract, transform and load. So they're very good at picking up data from source systems, being able to actually bring that data into a central place, translate it into a common language that everybody can understand, and supplement that data with reference data from master data systems. Things like, what are my credit arrangements with this counterparty? These are very important when you look at an organization's exposure. And then cubes are very good at allowing people to actually look at that data on the fly, look at what's good about it, look at what's bad about it, and then we've built some nice workflow tools around that lets you spot exceptions. So if you try and send data to one of the regulators and it's not right, we've got nice facilities that let you actually modify that data, and that's a very important part of the whole regulatory process.
And ComTech Advisory did a couple of reports just recently around the whole EMEA remit and even MiFID II regulatory environment within Europe. And one of the major findings was that about a third of the industry say that they're ready and done and set to go. A third say that they're in process. And another third say, what regulations?
Yeah.
So, how are you seeing demand and what's driving the market right now?
Well, it's actually surprised us a little bit how late some even the very big players have left it in the day to actually comply with these regulations. I think the thing you have to bear in mind is a lot of the regulations were designed more around the financial industry. So the commodities players have really come late to the party. And in some instances, they found it hard to translate some of the rules for finance into the kind of physical process of energy delivery. So I would say that most of the players are somewhat ready. So most of them will be able to send some sort of data set to the regulators on February the 12th. Some of them won't be able to send any at all, and there will be consequences depending on which regulatory authority you're under. Certainly our clients, we think, are going to be well positioned for that date. But there have been problems with changes in regulations at the last minute. The trade repositories have changed their data rules at the last minute. So we've had to be very fleet-footed. And that's one of the great things about the Cube technology. You can change it very quickly. So we've been able to accommodate some of these new rules and get them into the system in time for the February the 12th deadline.
And what kind of customers are you signing up for this particular solution?
Well, it's actually been a very broad range. I mean, we've actually got customers ranging from sort of major utilities in Europe. We've got Spanish clients, we've got Scandinavian clients in Germany and the UK. We've even got an airline using the system. We really operate across the 3 main areas of the Openlink field, which is financial institutions, corporate clients, and the energy industry.
And if there was a company out there right now that was in trouble with its approach towards meeting these regulations, could you still help them even in the short time frame that's available?
Yeah, well, obviously it's getting very short now, given that we're actually only 2 weeks away. I think what we're saying to our clients that have hit problems is we've got a very expert team that really understand the regulations, understand what the regulator's looking for, so we can help them put some pragmatic workarounds in place in the short term and work with them longer term to put a more strategic solution in place. And I think that's really what the regulators are going to look for. They're going to look for clients to say, okay, I'm sending you my data, it's not perfect, but I have got a program in place to create a more strategic solution for you.
Perhaps let's back up a little bit. Some of the regulatory requirements have been up in the air until very recently, and with REMIT, some of them still are up in the air. How have you been positioning the product, given that you're just as in the dark about some of these things as everybody else in the industry?
Well, it's actually interesting. One of our very sort of early clients was very good at looking at the data specifications for both EMEA and REMIT. So from day one, we had a fairly good understanding of the data that both sets of regulations would require. That doesn't mean we knew exactly how to translate it into the regulator's format, but we at least understood what we needed from the source systems. So we were able to start working with clients from a fairly early stage to get that data out. And in fact, we haven't just covered EMEA in our solution. We've designed the database and the data layer to cover REMIT as well. And for energy, REMIT is going to be a much bigger deadline because there are going to be many more of them that have to comply later this year. I think the rules for REMIT are going to be very much pinned down in sort of Q2. So we're imagining there will be another wave of kind of customers coming in that want to use the EMEA rules and the REMIT rules in one solution.
So David, since there has been a lot of delay and uncertainty in the regulations, it seems to me that some companies are still hoping that they can rely on third parties like brokers and maybe clearing banks to do the reporting. Are you seeing a trend towards relying on the brokers at all?
Yeah, in fact, I've had many conversations with clients who say they're going to actually put everything through their brokers, but the problem is that the sort of cleared trading only covers a percentage of their business. So they still have the problem of how they're going to source the data for the additional trades. So we're finding clients that have gone down that route are now coming back and talking to us and saying, well, we've actually got half our trades being reported through the broker, but we're having problems actually getting the rest of it into their database. So what we're saying to them is, let's talk about our solution, which will supplement that data and give you a complete data picture. And there's also a cost aspect to it as well. The brokers are not doing this for nothing, of course.
Right.
They want to be paid for that.
Well, I mean, given that and given the statistics that we discussed earlier from our own survey, are you seeing a sudden spurge of pent-up demand for these solutions, or?
Well, put it this way, I think we've increased our customer base by some 200% over the last 6 months, which probably answers your question. It's been fantastic.
And what about REMIT? Do you think REMIT will drive more demand?
Absolutely. REMIT is going to be the core regulation for most of the energy players who are certainly in the physical business. So, gas and power is going to come under there, and they're going to have to send more data. There's going to be some pre-trade data required there as well. So it's not just actually conducted trades, it's going to be some pre-trade information that's required as well. So I think there's going to be a big demand for the solution come next summer.
Very good. Well, that's all we have time for with this episode. Once again, I'm Gary Vasey with ComTech Advisory, and I've been talking to David Priestley from Openlink Financial. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Gary.